try this again. YouTube app does not want to play well. While so this is a live feed. While this is coming up, I would like to address this text message. I talked about this a little, I don't know, last week or something like that. And it was kind of ties into this video, at least the topic of this video. So briefly, yesterday I walked out of the door to go somewhere, open the garage door. Garage door was jacked up. Wouldn't work. I'm not a big fan of house keys. I tend to lose them. So what I realized was I don't know where I put, like I've given the house keys, like Kyle has one, Tanya and Eric have one. I have two, I don't know where I put them. So I was sort of locked in the house, right? I could leave, but I couldn't lock the door. So today, Kyle gets out of school, his last day of school. So I sent him a text. I said, hey, I need you to run over, go to Ace Hardware, have an extra key made, and bring me one. And he says, okay. And he sends me this text. After we have this text exchange, he sends me this text. It says, okay, but can you reimburse me for gas since I have to put gas in to get there? This is why my kid needs a job. This is why my kid needs to understand the value of money. This is why a lot of kids need to understand work ethic and the value of money. To which I basically replied to him. I won't read it because there's a few choice words. To which I said, yes, I'll absolutely reimburse you for gas as soon as you begin reimbursing me for 16 years of medical expenses, food, clothing, gas, sporting events, baseball bats, spikes, cleats, you name it. I did not get a response. But I want to talk about comparing bank accounts for a few minutes. This is, I think we're all guilty at this at one time or another. Let me do this really quick, then we'll just dive into this. Let me pull this up on my channel so I can read some of the comments. I think we're all guilty of comparing bank accounts. And I think it's a dangerous thing to do. I understand that it's we do it for motivation. There've been a lot of people that I guess some of the individuals on the internet are questioning or making fun of others with how much they make and that sort of thing. So I thought I'd spend a few minutes and address it. Okay, so let's say hello to a few people. Who Big Radio, Dash Cam, Yukon, Greg Harris, Keith, a few others. So when you start comparing bank accounts, I think when we're immature, we do that largely out of motivation, right? I think money is always a motivating factor. I think love and money are two big motivating factors in our life. And so I think when we're immature, we tend to do those sorts of things. I make more money than you, or so on and so forth, or I have a nicer car, or I have nicer tires, or a lot of radio, or whatever it is that we do when we're young and foolish. I think when you get in the industry, I think you start trying to compare bank accounts, and you can say, oh, these, and I'll give you two quick examples. I'll use us, and I'll use an individual that works for us that used to work for a larger company, now works for us. When I was interviewing him, I asked him, why do you want to leave this company that you've been at for several years, stable job, so on and so forth. And one of the components of his response was money. And he said, they told me I was going to make X cents per mile. I don't know what that number was, right? But whatever it was, say 40 cents a mile. They said I was going to make 40 cents a mile. However, when I was empty, I actually make less. And when I have to deadhead, I make less. And when I do this, I make less. And so then it's not really 40 cents, right? I mean, yeah, it's 40 cents on a load of miles, but it's not. The point of that is, I don't care what company it is, ours or any others, you need to look at the full snapshot to really understand and be able to accurately compare. I should have put that on Do Not Disturb. So you need to be able to you need to be able to understand the pay structure. And I did a video on my first channel where I talked about typically the more complex the pay structure, that typically doesn't bode well for the employee, be it a truck driver or be it somebody else in some other complete different industry. Hang on, I'm at Ace Hardware. Do you want to grab lunch together? All right, so for us, we start and we start everybody. In fact, we pay everybody that comes in that wants to haul flowers the exact same rate. You might have 3 years experience. You might have 33 years experience. You're gonna make the same. You're gonna make the same rate. Where individuals can make significantly more is in stop pay and cart pay. For us, and again, what we do is very unique. It's multi-stop, it's driver assist for probably 7 or 8 months out of the year. The other 4 months out of the year is your standard OTR. For those that want to work harder, they can make more. We have virtually an unlimited amount of carts that we need to pick up. Not only do we have our carts that we physically own, we rent many thousands of carts from another company, of which we can pick up all of those as well. So there's literally an unlimited supply of carts that we can pick up. Time is usually the component there. And so for those individuals that want to earn a lot more money, they can do that. I don't know that many other, typically drivers, the way that they have an opportunity to increase their earnings are to drive more miles, right? Or to take a load that pays a higher percentage, depending on things. So again, I think every company kind of offers its own unique structure. For us, our drivers work really hard. We have some drivers that are solo. We have some that do OTR only. We have some that do that bring their. We've got a driver. In fact, we've got another driver tomorrow. I think tomorrow, Friday, heading down to pick up his son. He's out of school. We have another driver that has his son in his truck with him right now, helping break down carts. Those individuals, they make a lot more money picking carts because they're doing a lot more. We've got another individual that has a significant other in the truck. We've had a few of those scenarios. They do, I mean, so there's flexibility here at Bellfloor, and I'm sure that other companies have some level of flexibility or not. But I think comparing bank accounts is really dangerous because there's always somebody that makes more than you. I don't care how much we have. And I'll give you another quick example. I interviewed with an individual that had sold a company. This has been many years ago. Interviewed with an individual. He had sold his previous company. He personally had cashed out $900 million. He was looking to buy essentially a 737 jet, which is the Southwest jet, right? So pretty good sized plane. $900 million, you would think, man, that guy can afford anything he wants. When you get into that club, that billionaire club, you have billionaire buddies, and his billionaire buddies had said, hey man, you know, that's a lot of plane. That's a whole lot of plane, because with that comes a lot of maintenance, a lot more costs. Maybe we might suggest that you not bite that much off. It's a guy with $900 million looking to his peers as saying, man, that's a lot. I know it seems like you can't go through that, but maybe look at something different. And he did. He ended up getting a G4. Just a $45 million plane. Add probably another I don't know actually what, probably 5 to 6, 7 million in on the interior to make that plane the way that he wanted. Well, there you go. So there's always somebody that has more money than you. And relative to that, what do you want from your bank account? You know, what I realized many years ago is I wasn't a whole lot. My dad was a truck driver. I wasn't a whole lot more different than my dad. I just happened to fly on airplanes to do my job, but I was still gone 5 days a week, oftentimes flying out Sunday evening, depending on the circumstance. And I did that for years. On every single day, I was on an airplane going somewhere different. And I'm sure you guys, a lot of people that are drivers, you sort of have that experience where people assume, hey, so Kyle, how are you, man? People assume that you guys get to see a lot of great sights, and you do. People, when I would go to New York, oh, did you get to see this or that or do this or do that? No, I got to go see the inside of a conference room or a boardroom, right? And so it's just different, and that's why I decided I want to make that change. If you're not happy with what you make, then find a company or an industry that's going to allow you that opportunity. If you're not happy with what you see, then you should probably consider setting yourself up to change and maybe start your own business. You hear a lot of motivational kind of speakers and people say the time is now, you got to do it right now. And I that message bothers me so significantly, and here's why. What I think a lot of people hear when they hear that message of do it now is quit job A and go start job B. And I just think there's a lot of risk with that. I think you need to prepare yourself. I think you need to start now, today, right now, preparing yourself for whatever that next opportunity is. If that's changing industries, if that's starting your own company in the existing industry, if you want to be like Vasily, you want to get out of one industry and go chase your passion of something completely different like coffee, whatever it is, prepare yourself now from a business stance to go and be successful there. When you start comparing physically how much money you're earning or someone else is earning, you're really setting yourself up to fail. Because I think in any industry, I don't care. In fact, I was having this conversation yesterday with someone. Here's one, try this on for size. Someone called and said, hey, I'm booking a couple of hotel rooms for one of the executives in the company, actually for two executives. They're going to a trade show in a big city. And they're going sometime early next year. And they booked 2 suites. Each suite for the week, Monday through Friday, each suite was $48,000 a piece. 48 grand. And the comment was, well, you know, they do travel a lot. They work really hard. Truck drivers travel a lot. They would never think about spending 48 grand for a week in a hotel. I know a lot of other people that are considered wealthy that would never consider spending 48 grand for a week in a hotel. It's just kind of silly, right? So when you start comparing yourself or your situation, I think there's really boils down to 2 things. How much money are you making, and how can you balance that with your family life? There's that work-life balance. And as I can mention in one of his earlier video today, for some individuals, that's X dollars because they're fine with making a little bit less. They get to spend more home time. And you see this a lot, raging these debates all the time, whether it's what rate per mile or what my cost per mile is or how much home time. The fact of the matter is, find what works for you and your family. That's all that really matters. It's up to you to find that. If you're not happy where you're at or you're not happy with what you're doing, then find ways to change that. I think being part of the interesting about our industry in trucking, and I'll use us as probably that perfect example, is most drivers are independent, they're solo. That's why they wanted this job to begin with, is that sense of freedom. When you work for a company, oftentimes there is that sense of team, right? And for us, we sort of flip that switch really quickly. When we bring guys in off of running outside freight to run flowers, it very quickly becomes being part of a team. They still have an individual job to do, but they are relying on somebody else to do their job really well, get that product from point A to point B as part of the relay or an intercompany or something like that, because somebody else is waiting on that truck, that product, to be unloaded, repackaged, and then sent back out. And so when you don't do your job well or on time, or you're lazy or you're slow, it has a significant ripple effect, not just to the other drivers that are now sitting for an extra few hours or a whole day or whatever it is. They're losing that money. It's costing the company money. There's a ripple effect. You need to understand that, right? If you're not willing to do that and you're not comfortable with that, then maybe consider being an owner operator, but that comes with a lot of risk. It's up to you how you want to manage your business life professionally and your personal life. It's up to you. How much risk do you want? So for anyone that wants to ridicule or make fun or chastise other individuals or other companies for what they pay or don't pay, you don't understand. I assure you, you probably don't understand the totality of the picture. We might have a driver that has a perfect driving record, hasn't had an accident or an incident for 20 years. But a company probably has a whole lot of other drivers that are having a whole lot of other accidents. And so they play that game of balancing the finances to pay for all those other things. If you don't like that, you're not willing to accept that, or that pisses you off, then go become a lease operator. You know, a lot of individuals want to ridicule, you know, ownership or companies for doing certain things. There's a reason why they do certain things. You got to understand that, again, the totality of the picture, understand what that company's P&L looks like, understand what all of that company's assets and how those drivers are performing. And then you might have a slightly different perspective. So I don't put a lot of merit when individuals want to discuss or talk about what companies are doing right or wrong when they haven't walked a mile in those shoes. Just like drivers probably aren't going to listen and put much merit into what I might say relative to backing into a dock or, you know, driving across the country, as you shouldn't put much merit into that. Nor should we put much merit into what anybody else says when they've not ran an organization that has, you know, some number of trucks, and they deal with a lot of the challenges that companies deal with. But again, if you don't like that, then consider going and being a lease op. Now's a really good time to do that. Now's the best time over the past several years to do that. But again, you know, with that comes a lot of risk. Are you prepared from a business side or personally even to do that? Driver pay is still low compared to what? I don't know. Maybe you're doing a poor job. I don't know. I think again, compared to what? What industry are you in? It's one thing to say I'm in trucking, but what industry? Who do you haul for? Do you haul flowers? It's a low profit industry. Are you hauling, you know, John Deere tractors? Again, who are you hauling for? OTR. That's my point, right? You can't sit there and say OTR. OTR what? There's millions of trucks on the road doing very small specific things. Oh, I haul reefer. Let's break it down even smaller. Oh, I haul reefer. Reefer pays too low. Who do you haul reefer for? Are you a company driver? Yeah, there you go. See, that's my point. You're just going to say reefer. See, again, you don't get it. And what you don't get is who you hauling reefer for. Guess what? Tyson Chickens, their product might have really high margin. Produce down from some farmer at the border might have very low margin. So the amount of money that you might make from hauling from the farmer versus Tyson Chicken could be very different. Again, you can't just sit there and say it's very low. It's low compared to what, right? I mean, compared to the number of hours that you work, the amount of home time that you have to miss. Sure, you can begin to make that argument fairly. Unemployment's at 3.9%. It's hard for people to find jobs right now. That's what's weird. It's very strange. Do I think drivers are underpaid as a whole? Yeah, look, I think we're underpaid for what we do. You talk to any of our drivers, not just about the driving component, for how hard everybody works in our company and for the amount of hours that they spend, how hard they work, relative to the profit that we turn, right? Not a particularly great business to be in, right? But it does pay bills and it does turn profit. So again, but if you don't like that, then go start your own. You go start your own company. And the time you spend out here for the pay isn't worth it. Okay, then why do you do it? Why do you do it? Is it because you're passionate about it? Okay, well then again, it gets back to that personal, professional balance. That's what it boils down to. If you made really crappy decisions back, in your life that sort of sets you up to only have jobs that are in certain positions, well, that's your fault. Don't blame me or anybody else. That's on you, 100%. Just like if I made crappy decisions, that's 100% on me. If my son makes crappy decisions, gets piss poor grades, and expects that people are going to reimburse him, shame on me for not doing a better job raising him, right? At some point, though, it's going to fall on him. I've done the very best I could do. Maybe he had a crappy dad for a parent. But at some point, it's up to him to realize that's it. It's owner's greed. Let me tell you something. This is where you guys are so foolish. This is where people like you are really foolish. I know you're just a troll account. You have no clue what profit we make. So again, you're talking about something that you don't know. If you think it's greed, then why don't you big boy up, go get your own truck, your own trailer, go start hauling your own freight. See how simple that is? And then you too can be greedy, and you can have other people say, oh, you're an owner, you're greedy. In fact, go hire a few other drivers, sign them up. And then you can sit there and claim to be greedy too. Pretty simple. You make that choice. It's so ridiculous for people to sit there and say, oh, they're greedy. You know what? Those individuals put themselves in a position by probably working their ass off at some point in their life to be able to afford sort of, certain things, whether that's a car, a house, a vacation, a hunting trip, a company, a truck, an asset, whatever it is. Every dollar a company spends is valuable and how they choose to spend it. So again, it is not hard right now to go and become a lease operator. Not hard at all. Easy to do. So for those that want to sit there and ridicule, then make the change. I mean, it's that simple. If you find a company that's going to treat you well, pay you what you feel is a good livable wage, and gives you that work-life balance that you want, I don't know, there's some sense of happiness there. If you're not happy, then change. I said that here a few months back, or whatever, recently in one of my videos. If I'm not happy with the company, then change the company. Or go start another one, or do something different. That is where I think we were all so stinking fortunate. Because I promise you, if you're watching this video at any point in time, you have a cell phone, and you can afford a cell phone bill, and that puts you in the top 1% of people in the world, right? And so in this country, we have the opportunity to go do things. If we think we don't, that's silly, especially in this industry. Especially in this industry. I think we all have to find that sense of content and happiness within our. Sorry, another call. Try it again. Another phone call. So I'll try to address a few questions here. Let me go way up. Let's see, some guys brag, I'll go way up real quick. Joy Wild said some guys brag about income but have absolutely no life outside the truck. Absolutely. Look, I'll use my really good example is me, right? I work a lot, but that's what I enjoy. I enjoy working a lot. I enjoy trying to build things. That's it. Some people are really good at building cabinets or whatever. I like to build and turn on companies. That's what I'm pretty decent at. Let's see. Keith James says, I got a 21-year-old son who doesn't like to work for a living. Who's living in a spare bedroom. Who leaves lists for the store. Hasn't worked in 3 months since high school. Yeah. Well, I made the comment the other night on the live feed. I told Kyle. So let me tell you, Kyle has been to Hawaii probably no less than 8 or 10 times. He's 16, just turned 16. He's been to Hawaii probably 8 or 10 times. He's traveled more, been on more vacations than most freaking adults that lived until their 80s. All right, the kids have more vacations. He is spoiled to some degree, but he's also got a pretty good head on his shoulders. He's pretty humble, and he's not a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, he's not that guy that's a jerk. But I also think that he is missing a lot of what I value in my life, that I look back growing up in rural America, working your butt off. He's missing that. I think there's value in that, in my opinion. For me, there is. Not that you can't go be successful and never work like that. You can. I'm just saying I feel like that's an important component in my life, and I want him to experience that. And I told him, I said, you got 2 weeks. We're going to go see my dad next week. The week after that, he's going scuba diving in Mexico. Tough life this kid has. I said, in those 2 weeks, somehow being 1 out of the country, 2 away from home, if you haven't had a job, there's one waiting for you at the greenhouse. You can go, you can work, make minimum wage, and greenhouse is about 130 degrees in the summer. So to combat that, people are in there around 5:30 in the morning. You can go work really hard for a month or 2. See what that's like. And I told him, I said, when you come back from there, it won't be on a plane. All right, I'll put you in a truck. I'm sure one of my drivers will be kind enough to spend 6 or 7 days with a 16-year-old and show them what that job is like as they traverse from Kansas City back to Phoenix. I think kids need that. I think that's a lot of what's wrong with our society. I'm not going to go into like crazy detail now. I just think that's a lot of it. 32 cents a mile is not acceptable. Okay, if it's a flat 32 cents, that's it, that's all. Yeah, I would agree. If there are a lot of other components to that pay structure, then I don't agree. Right? If you have other components to that pay structure, maybe 32 cents is acceptable. Right? That's what I'm saying is you have to understand the whole picture. You can't just say 32 cents or 28. I mean, look, you could be paid 60 cents a mile and it'd be unacceptable. If you're only going to get whatever, 1 or 2 runs a week and it's a 1,000-mile total round trip, is that acceptable to you? I'm going to pay you 60 cents a mile. See what I mean? You have to understand the whole picture. Let's see, everyone's numbers are different. Yep, if you don't like what you're getting paid, move companies, perform better. Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the things I think is so great about sports and the competitiveness that plays a big role for me is if, I'll use 2 analogies. In sports, highly competitive. I don't remember what grade I was. We had to play a string instrument. I got stuck with the viola. It's like a violin. I got stuck with the violin. I can remember, like when you know you suck, when you know you suck. And I can remember like practicing down in the house. I was like, this sounds horrific. It sounds horrific because it was horrific. But I had no motivation whatsoever. I didn't care that I was whatever, 3rd chair or whatever it was. I didn't care, right? If you're in a situation where you don't care, man, you really need to probably find a different company that's going to motivate you doing something slightly different, maybe within your own industry because you have expertise there. You can sell that expertise for value to make a better living. E Street says, what is home time? My time at the house allows me enough time to take a nap, shower, eat, and leave. Man, I wish I could remember the individual that made this comment. It's been a while ago. I don't remember if this channel, first channel. He was an owner-operator, and he said, look, yeah, I get home time as an owner-operator, but when I'm home, I'm doing paperwork, I'm doing repairs, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. This is a tough industry. I'll say it in this video as I say it in most. It just is. Bud Dog, you do control your future. Absolutely. Look, I'll say this, and I know a lot of companies aren't like this. I believe that there are more companies that are like this than you like to think. Most people just are probably not willing to have the conversation. I had an individual that drove for us for a long time. He was previously a lease operator for John Christner. He was really close to paying off the truck, and they played the game that a lot of individuals did for many years, which is all of a sudden when he was close to paying off the truck, they started cutting his miles down to virtually nothing. He couldn't make the payments, had to turn the truck in. Probably a year ago, he sat down. He was in Phoenix. We sat down, had lunch. He said, hey, look, I just want you to know, I hope you don't get upset. My goal, probably within the next year or so, is I want to be an owner-operator. I want to do it. I want to do it myself. And so you know what we did? We said, great. Let's try to create a plan for you to be able to achieve that goal. So we did. And and I don't want to make this sound like I don't want to take any credit away from him. This guy did all of it on his own, right? We did what we could on our side to the best that we could, but he did 99% of this on his own. He's out doing that, went and bought his truck, and he's doing quite well for himself now. He also took the time to do a lot of things really, really well. Route planning, time management, fuel cost, all the things that you need to be successful in the owner-op space, he was exceptional at. He was exceptional because he put the time and the effort and the energy to be exceptional at it. If you're not that individual and you're content with being lazy, and we all are at something, it's probably not the right business for you to do. You probably need to look at doing something different. Just my 2 cents. Here's the scary part. We all can find a way to live with the disgusting laziness that we all have, myself included. Canel says, show them all the beauty we possess inside. like you've seen the, I don't remember what the show is. What's the show where like all the people have like a bazillion boxes packed up to the ceiling and just stuff everywhere? How you get content in that, I don't know, but people do, and they live in that. They get content with their absolute utter laziness. Take depression and all that kind of stuff aside, that can go along with some of that kind of stuff. But we all have some degree of laziness. And I'm going to use Canal really quick. Hoarders, thank you. I'm going to use Canal really quick. I'm not going to go into any detail, Joe, but you did a video the other day where it says people like to give Joe a hard time. Oh, part-time driver, this and that. Joe did a video the other day. If you haven't seen it, check it out. He says, what am I doing in all my spare time? Right? Joe's got many side hustles, right? Not just YouTube, gold, silver, a whole lot of other things that Joe spends a lot of time working really hard to achieve things that make him happy. So, maybe Joe doesn't want to be in the truck full time. Maybe he's tired of it. He's fed up with it, right? I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying if he is, if you are, there are other things you can do to augment and create different streams of income for yourself. Are you willing to put the work in? If you're not willing to put the work in, then don't expect to get compensated for it. Expect to be happy. Find a way to be happy with whatever you're making if you're not willing to put the work in. So, let's see. Most of us drivers are not bright. That's why we slave wage on wheels. You know what? Here's the thing. One of the things that I think drivers have as an opportunity is time. Right? Let's say that you are a salesperson for XYZ company and you've got to travel some in the car and you've got to jump on a plane here and there, whatever. But mostly you're in the cubicle just pounding away on the keyboard. You don't have time to listen to books on tapes. You don't have time to do these other things except when you're at home. Drivers have that luxury of 10 hours of downtime, and I say it's a luxury, right? I'm saying this with respect to available time. You have your drive time to listen to books on tape to improve your opportunity to be valuable in some other arena. Are you willing to make the investment in buying the books on tape or downloading it or listening to it or buying Excel or whatever it is that you need to improve your business skills? Are you willing to take that time and energy? Or do you just want to flip on YouTube and watch idiots like me talk? Let's see. All you're doing is turning dollars as an owner-operator. That's a bust. If you don't have a contract, what's the point? Look, I think that's another good point as well. I mentioned this a while ago. When I decided that I was a slave to big companies because I was like you guys traveling every day, I just did it on a plane, not in a truck. I didn't want that, right? So I made a change. So it took me a couple of years to start to, or to get to where I felt I was confident enough to make that transition. Now, you know what I didn't do? I didn't go set up a company, buy an office or sit at my desk and quit my job and just say, here I go. While I was working, I found other customers that were going to provide me an opportunity via a contract for that service, that product and that service. Once I found that, I met with the CFO and their board of directors. I sold them on it. And I told them, quite frankly, I didn't even have a company set up. I didn't lie. I told them straight up. Oftentimes, it's not how big you are, it's how big you act. In this particular case, I was straight up brutally honest. All right? So I told them where I was and what I could do and how much money I could save them. And they were willing to take a chance. I got a very sizable contract, first contract out the door, set the company up with, that's quick and easy. And I had probably about 1.5 to 2 years worth of profit to live on to find another customer. Now, some of you would say, oh my God, that's incredible. That anybody would do that. You know what? When you have a whole lot of bills and you are a parent, you have other responsibilities, and you have this and that, you can find a way to talk yourself out of doing anything. Ultimately, I went ahead and moved forward with it. I did it, and it was certainly a good move for me professionally and personally, financially, all those things. Doesn't mean it was any less scary. It was. So I don't know. You have the opportunity. We just have to find ways to make that happen. I do think though that there is opportunity for drivers that want to change, that want to improve. right? Yeah, you can. I mean, Cannell's had YouTube, I don't know, what have you had it, Joe? 6, 7 years, right? Joe's got a decent passive income stream from YouTube. It's taken him 6 or 7 years to get there. How many people are willing to work 6 or 7 years? 6 years. 6 years to get the passive income. How many people are willing to put in 6 years to do it? I don't know. Guess what? That 6 years worth of hard work provides him now the opportunity to work kind of part-time and then to do other things that are going to generate passive income. It's how hard do you want to work? But again, not being bright is not a good excuse. I mean, you don't have to be bright to start companies, right? You don't have to have, some degree from Harvard, right? I mean, you just don't. The Whole says, put Junior in with Cannell for the summer. Joe does have spare time. Sometimes he passes out, though. Check out Parts Canyon Canal. Reading, these guys are just kind of talking back and forth here. So let's see. Dashcam Sand says, I listen to a ton of books. Plan to be a shade tree philosopher someday. Yeah, look, I think you have to find that. Golly, I have eyelash. Sorry. I think you have to find that opportunity. That I think there's danger, right? There's danger in doing something that you're passionate about. I know a lot of guys that were passionate about golf. I'll share. It's a funny story. It's funny because it didn't cost me money. But I'll use golf as a really good example. There are a lot of guys that think that they are exceptional golfers and they like to go play for money. Back when I used to play and I was decent, played at a club, guy comes up, one of the guys that worked there I know, he said, hey, there's this guy says he knows you, says he wants to play with you. I said, I'm just playing 9 holes, I've got some stuff I got to take care of. Guy shows up, wants to make this crazy game. I don't know what the game was. He's explaining the rules. Long story short, he ends up pressing, which is doubling the bet. As I'm putting the tee into the ground on the first hole, he presses. Now, that's like a really rude thing to do, right? And that's sort of like a middle finger. And so I don't even know what this game, I haven't understood the game. So long story short, we end up and we start, you can double it, which I did, which he doubled it again, which I doubled it. So at that point, I sort of take the stance of we can play for whatever you want. I'll just make the stakes high enough that you become nervous, and then I have an advantage. And so that as the round unfolded on those first nine holes, I would kind of hit a shot here or there that he might hit a bad shot, and so I would kind of hit a bad shot. Just sort of like continue to allow this money to carry over, and it got rather large. By the time we were on the 9th tee, the guy could barely breathe. He snap hooked it into the woods and looked for 15 minutes for his ball before he finally ended up writing a check that had a comment in it. That guy wasn't as good as he thought he was. It just so happened I was a little bit better. There are a million guys that were better than me on that particular day. But your ego doesn't allow you to make really good quality decisions, and sometimes it can cost you a lot of money. So there's always somebody that has more money. There's always somebody that's better at whatever it is you're doing, whether it's golf or driving a truck or starting a business. There's always somebody better. It doesn't matter. It's your job to be just as good as you can be. The challenge is whenever you get into competition and you start competing against other companies for that product or service, that's where you have to be pretty good. That's where your business skills have to come into play. I say all that to get back to that question from a few minutes ago, which is, if you're an owner-operator, why are you not, how many loads do you haul a year? Why are you not reaching out to customers yourself? Wherever home is, why are you not reaching out to customers close to home at that point and trying to figure it out, right? I was gonna say, Kyle has a key. So that's up to you to do that. Hey, Grace, hush. This is not going to stop for like 2 minutes. Hey, will you go pet her so she stops barking? So it's up to you guys. Why don't you guys go find contracts? At least you can get one leg of your triangle or whatever it is that you're trying to run out and back. At least you get one leg that pays really well. And guys like to make the excuse. I hear it all the time. I get these emails, questions, and comments all the time. Well, but I'm just one truck. That's not gonna matter. The hell it's not. The hell it's not. Is this the new one?
Yeah.
Cool. Did you use it on that door?
Yeah.
All right. So it absolutely you can. You can sit there and make an excuse and say, no, it won't work. I'm not viable. Sure you are. Right now, trucks are in high demand. I booked a load yesterday on the load board. Wilbur's out of pocket. I booked a load. You know what happened yesterday? I had the conversation with the broker, and normally the broker says, and we're offering X dollars. Silence as they gave their spiel. And I said, well, here's this, here's that, here's what we have, blah, 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 and we're willing to do it for X. Okay, and X was a good rate. And we ended up coming to terms. It's up to you. How hard are you willing to negotiate? Are you willing to pick up the phone and make calls and find customers to do that? You have a lot of time, right? You have a lot of time. When you're sitting, I mean, instead of whining and complaining about how much time we all spend in the docks, and trust me, that's a legitimate complaint. I'm not saying that's not. But for those that are owner-operators, spend that time making phone calls to other shippers, right? There is no more, I mean, time management is just big. All right, let me jump in and answer a few more questions here. Michael Cartwright says, drive for a good company or be a true owner-operator. Lease purchase is BS. Yeah, Michael, I've been really critical of lease. I think lease in the past 6 or 8 months, because of rates, are better than they have been for many years in the past. But I would agree that doing an owner-operator is the best way to go if you can swing it. Canel says, that's true. My comment was true. He's not bright and he makes money in many ways. Benjamin Duke says, if you're an owner-operator, you decide you're making slave wages, you need to find that wage. Absolutely. Make changes. Understand this, guys, really quick. If you're in trucking, you're an owner-operator, or you own a company, you have a few other trucks, or you're a lease operator. For that matter, I guess even if you're a company driver, I understand this piece. When you're in a low-margin industry, which trucking is, even if rates were averaging $3 or $4 a mile, that's still a pretty, well, $4 a mile, probably not low margin, but the easiest way that you're going to increase your profit is by reducing your expenses. That's the easiest way. Stop running, that truck as fast as it'll go. Start doing some of the easier things relative to fuel efficiency, or how you're running, or the loads that you're taking, or the lanes that you're running, right? Start reducing your expenses, all right? That's the easiest way you're going to find profit. Let's see, live feeds just aren't the same without the pool and the dogs. I know. Here's a quick update on the pool. It's close to being done. It's really close to being done. As far as just the pool, still have a lot of landscaping and stuff to do, but probably in a week or two. Let's see. Alice says she's sitting in Henderson waiting to be loaded. I crocheted the time away. And look, if that's what if you're someone that is happy with the money that you're making, you're content with the company that you're at, and you want to crochet, or you want to read golf magazines or hunting magazines, or again, that's that work-life balance that we're talking about. If you find a company that you're happy with, then you do that. If you're motivated and you're not happy with the money that you're making, then find some way to improve that, whether that means changing companies, changing roles, changing responsibilities. $1 saved is worth more than $1 earned. It sure is, because it probably costs a whole lot more than $1 to earn $1. And that's that whole comment. Now you're going to get me really fired up. I'm going to be brief on this, Benjamin. That's where I get so fired up when people say, oh, just go make revenue. No, that's not right. Because when you just go make revenue, yeah, you can kind of sustain things and you can rob Peter to pay Paul. That's just not a good business philosophy, right? I guess it's a good business philosophy if you want to go out of business. It's just not a good way to run your business. You need to be tracking profitability. That's what's most important. That's all that freaking matters. How much money are you taking home in profit? And so what these guys fail to understand is when you save $1, you typically have to earn, well, just take taxes out right there, right? Taxes are at least a third of that. So now you got to make $1.30 to have that dollar. Oh, by the way, you've got other expenses, fuel, truck payment, all those things. How much money do you have to end up with a dollar, do you have to make? A lot more than one. So you're absolutely right. Success is my duty. How is driver pay low? Companies are paying up to 50 cents a mile. Well, here's what I was saying earlier, right? You could be paid 60 cents a mile. If you're only getting 1,000 miles, all of a sudden that 60 cents a mile is really low. So again, whether you're getting paid 30 cents or $1.30 or anything in between, you have to understand the whole structure of what that company offers. And just a trucking company is not a trucking company. That's just like saying an owner-operator is an owner-operator. For all the owner-operators that are in here watching that, how many are either one, offended, or two, laughing at that comment? Owner-operators are not all the same. That's like saying all lease operators fail. For the guys that are successful, they have a right to be pissed off by that. Don't lump me into that because these other guys don't know what the hell they're doing, nor do they take the time to improve themselves to be successful. Fair point, right? Fair point. Little Viking says, I'm only here to see Scott get shot in the ass. BB guns are in the garage. Let's see. No, Yukon, I will not. You can spend $20 to make two. That's right. Success is my duty. Was asking. I was asking that to one of your viewers. He said pay is low. It's oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry. Look, I don't think anybody, myself included, I don't think anybody who works really hard, really long hours, and is trying to improve either your well-being and the success of your company or your company. I don't think anybody that works really hard feels like they ever make enough. I just, that's probably a good thing, right? Motivation is a good thing. But I think, again, we sort of need to find that happiness. I don't think comparing bank accounts is the right way to do it. Right? I mean, these people that want to, that were trolling and that want to be really critical, comparing bank accounts is silly. And what do you want to do? You want to compare bank accounts? You want to sit down? You want to compare bank accounts? Okay, maybe I have more, maybe I have less. Who's happier? I don't know. And they can sit there and say, oh, they're happy, cool, and that's great. And again, I think to Ike's point, that's what it's about, right? Find those things for you to do where you're gonna be happy. That's why I've been on Kyle's ass. Is it's not that I want him to have a 4.0 just to say, my son has a 4.0. I want him to have a 4.0 because education typically tends to give you more doors to choose to walk through, right? It gives you more options, and options in life are good, right? When you don't have many options, that's when it's bad. Right? And so that's what really it's about. It's how do we create the most options, the most doors for us to knock on. And that's why I say, man, when you're driving a truck and you're sitting in a dock, if you're an owner operator or lease operator, man, start picking up the phone and dialing for dollars. Because I guarantee you have value right now. We might be in a commoditized industry, but right now supply and demand says that you are in demand. You might just have one truck. Do a hell of a job hauling that freight. I will communicate. How do you want me to communicate? Text, email, phone call? How do you want me to communicate? Want me to download the app on my phone? Sure, whatever. I'll do a good job. You don't have to micromanage me. You don't have to put talcum powder and pat my bottom. I'll do the job. When some bad thing does happen occasionally, I'll communicate. There's just a lot of ways you can do. And look, I agree, right? He says, as long as we keep driving for owners that don't pay, it's our fault. Yeah, absolutely. If you got companies out there that aren't going to pay reasonable wages, then leave. When that company doesn't have drivers, then they'll either go out of business or they'll increase their pay. It's sort of the same argument for cheap freight, right? When you haul cheap freight, you just continue to fulfill that cheap freight prophecy that's out there. Don't haul it. Make those let that freight sit on the dock. Especially if you're talking about produce and what have you. Let it sit on the dock. I promise you, they'll pay to move it. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be produce. It can be anything. I don't care if it's dish soap. Somebody wants that. Well, Allie says not only does she crochet, but sounds like she does it for profit. So it's good. Success of My Dude says, I agree with you, Scott. People need to be happy with what they're doing. If you're not making money one place, go somewhere else. Yeah. Benjamin says, is there some place that teaches how these pay programs work, like rate per miles? More rate, less miles, more miles, less rate. Look, here, the company's job is to turn a profit. Because again, the analogy was you might be doing great, but you got 5 other drivers that are making boneheaded mistakes that are costing the company a lot of money. Whether that's because they're not managing their time, not getting stuff delivered on time, or they're wrecking truck, whatever it is, right? So it's going to be up to you to manage that, right? You have to understand where that company is coming from. It is the company's responsibility to turn a profit to pay and offset all those other those drivers that if you can fall into that bad category, right? Versus the ones that that aren't being costly to the company. Okay, so the company has to turn a profit, as it should. If you work for a company, you want them to be profitable. If they're not, you're gonna be looking for another job. So you want the company to be profitable. That's what I find so funny that I forgot who it was who made the comment about companies are greedy. I'm sure some companies are, but not all. Not all are, right? Some companies are more than fair. I know several small companies that are very fair. Let's see, Joy Welch says in a lot of cases, people are at home making $40,000 and living life and are happy ones. How often do you see a smiling trucker or a shipper? Almost never. Probably true. Is that a text for me? No, I'm good. I'm good.
You got your key, right?
Yeah, what are you doing? Are you about to leave?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to finish this up in a second. I want to talk to you. Let's see here. So the driver asked themselves, is max cash important or benefits and retirement? Look, there's a whole lot of that too. I was having this conversation recently about retirement and things of that nature. I mean, guys have to plan that, right? So, John Connolly, how are you? I'm just kind of wrapping this up. Spirited video talking about driver pay and happiness, right? And that sort of stuff. So, Progressive Trucker says, a great video, almost feels small. Almost, yeah. Said that in every video about being willing to leave, viable lesson, work union. Look, my dad worked union, and union was good for him. Usually when companies pay 50 cents per mile, they give you little miles. At least 32 cents a mile, I get plenty of miles. What's better? And that's a good point. Here's a really good point. We had a driver who absolutely despised sitting, right? Despised it. And so he liked to run a lot. Some drivers would rather sit more than work more, right? If you consider driving as work, some guys would rather sit. It's individual, right? It's up to you what works for you and your family, right? So maybe you'd rather make. Let's assume that let's assume driver A is going to get paid 60 cents a mile, driver B is going to get paid 30 cents a mile. Let's assume that both of those individuals pick a number, 50, 60 grand a year, whatever it is. 2 different ways to get the exact same year-end W-2, right? 50 grand. Would you rather be the guy that's driving more often or the guy that's sitting more often? I don't know. I would choose one. A lot of others would choose something different. So, we do not work out of the ports, no. Now, we have drivers that live kind of all over. Some are local, some live all over, but when we run Flowers, we're primarily doing that regional type of work, right? We'll haul in 5, 6 states, something like that, 6, 7 states, whatever it is. When we run OTR, we haul, I'll say lower 48, but primarily it's, we stay out of the Northeast as much as possible. Primarily due to the tolls and all that sort of stuff, and cue Yukon to chime in and start telling me how much money he can make up there. But we try to avoid it because of traffic and all that stuff. So that's it. Look, comparing bank accounts is like comparing how happy you are to somebody else. You know, I think social media, so many people, you know, they portray their life as one thing when in reality it's something totally different. TV shows, same sort of thing. Don't compare yourself to anybody else because that's a losing battle, right? Motivate yourself to be happier, personally, professionally, financially, the whole 9 yards. Put the effort in to save more and to live frugally and all that sort of stuff, or to get good grades. He just walked right by. Give yourself options, that kind of stuff. Charlie says a lot of drivers just approach a job as that, just a job instead of working as part of a company. Charlie, that's a good point to kind of wrap this up. You know, I think being part of a team can be really tough. And again, I think for drivers they want that independent lifestyle. When you go to work for a company, even though you might be doing a very independent job or performing an independent function, you are doing something that rolls up to be part of a much bigger sum, part of the whole. And for us, when we run Flowers, we've transited. I mean, Charlie was our first driver that we hired. I am small fry. He'll tell you when we first started, we didn't do any relays. Now we do a lot more relays. With relays, it's good and it's bad. If there is a problem at the greenhouse, or there's a problem with the driver didn't set their alarm, or a whole host of issues, right? Truck breaks down, lift gate, whatever the issue is, it then has a ripple effect that is really, really expensive for us. And we can never catch up. We can never catch up. So that ripple effect is very big. It just really is. But I don't know. That's kind of it. But I think understanding that even though you might be working as an independent function, if you're a company driver, it's part of a team. And the value to me is when guys are like, how do I be better at being part of the team? And sometimes that means just doing your independent job better. And sometimes that means other things, whatever those may be. But I do think that's a really key function of it. And I feel fortunate because we've got the vast majority of our drivers. I've said many other videos, right? We look for those individuals that give a shit. That's one of the key criteria that we try to hire. And that's hard because it's not like, hey, if you have a 4.0, I had the piece of paper that says I got a 4.0 in high school, or I graduated with this degree, or I have turned this much revenue and this much profit, right? Those types of things are kind of hard that you can see physically. Hey, I've got this hard piece of paper right here. Here's what I accomplished. Finding those people that give a shit is that's tough, right? That's tough. Trucking is a dead end, Scott. Drivers should not drive for low wages. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that. Not at all. But again, I guess what I'm advocating in this video is understand the total picture of what makes you happy, what's good for you, right? I mean, look, if your significant other works and you can find a job that pays less, but you're home every day, right? Is that a good thing for you and your family versus you making twice as much money but being gone twice as much? Again, I don't know. That's why a lot of companies are very unique, a lot of drivers, and we're all individually unique. So we've got to find those things that are good for us. It can be tough to do. That's right, Robert. Any job can be dead end, right? Work is a 4-letter word, right? Are you willing to embrace it or not? It is. You got to find that company that cares. And every company, I've told this to Charlie and Howard and a whole bunch of other drivers, there are things that they bring to me, things that we can fix or resolve, right? We can do that right now. I can make that problem go away right now. There's some things that's going to take us time to resolve, whatever that might be. There's some things that we just won't ever be able to do, right? And sometimes those are easy to identify, right? Sometimes they're more vague and more ambiguous, and it's harder to realize. But I think when you have a company that is honest with you, man, I think that goes a long way. And I don't think it doesn't seem like there's a lot of that in our industry. So that's it. Is your glass half full or half empty? That's exactly it. 60 minutes on the nose, 1 hour. Let's wrap it up. As always, my opinion from this side of the steering wheel. As always, you guys stay safe.